Hey, this is the Forest Park High School football show, and I'm the host, Rusty Byrd. And I've got again Coach John Robinette, head coach of the Forest Park Bruins. Welcome to your show again, Coach.
You
We
bet.
yeah, we couldn't get a show in last week because I worked my full-time job, regular job is working in the federal government, and it was end of the fiscal year, and I'm working at really late hours, and that's my fault, everybody, not
No worries.
Coach Robinette. Yeah. So, but real quick, so what we're going to do today is we'll talk about what we did, what we missed, your game down in Richmond against Varina. Very
Yep.
quickly talk about that. Then your started district play. You had Potomac, you had that big win, and your upcoming game on Friday against Freedom, the two-time defending state champion, but it's not quite the same Freedom. All right. So real quick, Coach, can you give me some type of summary of what it was going down in Varina? They're a team that won the state championship Class 4 about 2 or 3 years ago. So it's a good program. They've got an All-American kid that's going to be going to USC. So tell us about that game.
Yeah, it was a good game. Not a good ending. We didn't play our best, but it was a good game, good competition. We wanted that level of competition. They had a really good defensive front. And in the end, we just made too many mistakes, too many big mistakes that led to big plays. We gave up way too many explosive plays on defense, but didn't play poorly, if that makes sense. And we went down there, we competed, we had some bus trouble, but that's the way it works. I'm glad we got on the road and had to do it kind of away from everything.
Yeah.
And it just, again, we made too many mistakes. And when you play a good team, they're going to make you pay. And you gotta block and you gotta tackle. And we didn't do that well enough to win. But I saw some good things in
Mhm.
the end. Then we played last week. We played Potomac, and that one we had a much better run. Um, Really good job running the ball. We ran the ball well and had some timely throws. Antonio Jones had a heck of a game. So I was pretty pleased with how we responded against Potomac.
Okay, you talk about running. I think again, I love running the ball, and I've even watched now an analysis from guys calling the game is that we've been doing this spread stuff for 12 plus probably 10 to 12 years now. It's become very commonplace at 7-on-7, and that's even changed the style of defenses and even the athlete. So middle linebackers are more like strong safeties, and you've
Yeah.
got about 5 to 7 defensive backs, and then maybe only about 3 big guys, and they're very agile, not big and run stoppers. So now what happens is teams are figuring, oh, so they've got all these people out there. Even if my quarterback can't throw, I might have to run the ball. And so you're having that success with running, and you are throwing the ball. But I know I was watching Colorado, and Shador Sanders is a great quarterback, but he's often under a lot of pressure. And you could tell me as an offensive line coach, isn't it easier, especially when you're putting a line and a group together, to run block as opposed to pass blocking?
It all depends on what kind of run blocking you're doing. I mean, there's more than one way to do it. And it the O linemen like it better. I mean, it's kind of human nature. I'd rather go at you than absorb hits.
Right.
And when you pass block, that's what you're doing. You're setting back and waiting for them to come at me, where you're rewarded for aggression in the run game. The one thing I will say, run game, there is, the variations of play. You can O-line coaches who know what they're doing. It's not as simple as you got that dude. Um, it can be,
Mhm.
but there is some nuance to it that you've got to be able to coach it up, and kids got to know which hand they're using in placement, especially when you play better teams. And I go back to Varina. I was pleased with the way our O-line played against them because they were really good front and they're well coached. Their front four are well coached with their hands and their get off on the ball. And that's a tough combination when you get guys who can come off the ball and use their hands as an O lineman. Now you got to work some skill of chop and rip and all kinds of different terms we use. It can't be just go get that guy. But if you can have success in running game and bring that defense back down, it opens some holes over top that you get some shots. And it is interesting. You look even like at Colorado, you look at the games that they've won, they were able to run the ball. It's still a Shador Sanders show, but just that little bit of relief that you've got to put that
Mhm.
sixth guy in the box in college football. You
Exactly.
got to have six maybe even 7 when you play Michigan, maybe even 8.
Yeah,
um,
yeah,
and like you're saying that in college, a lot of the guys that have been recruited to play the Mike backer or the nickel, that kind of what used to be the old 4-4 linebacker.
hmm hmm
Now they're recruiting because it was spread. You had to recover a guy who could cover an RPO and play in the box, but a lot of wide zone, a lot of toss, what we think is a toss. So playing the edges was important. And I think what's happening in college football is Michigan, especially, and some others have brought that edge back. And well, that 6 foot, 190-pound guy against a 250-pound tight end doesn't fit as well.
right,
So,
right.
and that's where it's kind of turning a little bit. And we've been fortunate here that we've had some guys who can fit that mold for us. And we've had some success forcing teams to bring their what in our old world, the 4-4, the fourth linebacker.
Yep,
Now they've replaced him with a nickel because of the 4 wide and the spread, because you
yep.
have to. You can't have a big plotting guy out there playing over number 2 in a 4 wide set. And now we're bringing him in, and let's see if that 5'10", 190-pound kid can hold up.
Hey, Coach, I feel you on that. And you know, the other place I've noticed it's even in the NFL. You know, the Pittsburgh Steelers are 3-1, and they've done it running the ball. The Baltimore Ravens are starting to figure out, oh, you know, if I give the ball to Derrick Henry, it's not a lot of guys, especially when he gets to the second level, that can tackle him. Um, and so when you have those smaller linebackers or people running all different places, and the threat of a running quarterback, it really does. You know, it's kind of things are beginning to switch just a little bit. So defensive coordinators got to be ready to, you know, the game plan for all of that. And that just takes a little more time.
Your personnel that you've drafted in the pros that you've drafted has to fit the other 31 teams, and then you get the Ravens who are built completely different. And if you want to
Mhm.
kind of nerd out on like technical O-line football, watching those guys, if you really pay attention to what they do, they're not just a simple zone scheme or a gap scheme. They run some pretty inventive stuff about, they're trapping, they're crunching, they're whamming. They got the kid Ricard, number 42, who's just built different, that
Yep.
they use kind of all over the place, and they'll use him. He'll go and block a 3 technique, and he'll do it
Mhm.
from, over here, and then wham, you don't even see it coming. And
Right. Right. Yep.
it's interesting. Like I said, if you're into O-line play, you could really nerd out on that
Yep.
group and watch them. It really is kind of inventive stuff. It's not
Yeah.
just, hey, Lamar, run where you want, or Derrick Henry, just go be the big dude. They're creating
Yep.
gaps, they're creating schemes for him that makes it hard. And
Yeah.
like I said, I get into that because I'm an O-line nerd.
Yeah, I enjoy it. Again, I enjoy it. Um, so let me ask you this: what were some of the players that kind of stood out from the Potomac game?
Potomac, I mean, Antonio Jones had about as a complete game as you can have as a player. He scored, he caught 1 pass out of the backfield for a touchdown. He ran for a touchdown, and then he had a pick 6 that
Wow. Okay.
got called back, but it was clear the pick stood. And we had a block in the back near like the 4-yard line. But
Huh.
he just was all over the place, number 2. And then, Landon Hunt did what Landon Hunt does. He's just
I
steady,
know. I saw this.
still, and just, we averaged 7 or 8 yards a carry. It wasn't a very complicated plan this against Potomac. And once we got kind of rolling and moving them, we stayed in it, and we were able to score some points. And then defensively, I thought linebacker play, Evan Weeks had a good game tracking and finishing plays for us. Our DBs we held up. We only gave up 7 points. I think we had 3 picks, so it was a good day. I mean, we were solid. It was a really good team win. But those are some of the names that stand out to start.
It sounds like you had a complete game. And how was well? If you're putting up 42, so were those every extra point was made?
Yeah, we made all our extra points. We
Good.
ended up going for 2 a couple times, just because we have a little bit of a double count on our extra points. And when you jump and we go from 3 yards out to 1.5, in our world, if we're pretty confident getting 1.5. And if you're going to give me 1 more
Okay.
point, we're going to take the 2 points. So we ended up
Okay.
doing that and getting some getting some bonus points out of that. I think Landon Hunt ended up with 2 2-point conversions.
Oh, wow.
That was a
Okay.
lot of fun.
Good stuff. Now, your opponent this week, Freedom. Again, they legitimately are the two-time defending
Yep.
state champions in VHSL Class 6. They are from our district. But we know Coach Overton moved on to Hayfield Secondary. So his new coaching staff, a lot of turnover in players. And because of the turnover and they never had a big roster. They decided to not play to play any of their non-district games. And so their first game wasn't until last week when they played Garfield. And unfortunately, they lost 74 to zip.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I'm sure you're breaking that. That doesn't mean anything to you. You got to go out there and still do what you got to do. But tell me a little bit of what you guys are preparing for, what you saw. Because a lot of us haven't seen Freedom.
Yeah, well, there wasn't a lot out there to see. I will tell you that. Just because they haven't played in a while, and then what they're very multiple with their formations and what they do, and they're pretty aggressive on the fronts. And we're gonna have to show up. We're gonna have to play. With the district opponents, they're still local kids, so everyone's gonna be a little more excited about it because these guys know one another. And so we're preparing just, the same as we would every other week and trying to get a second district win. And we're going to do what we do. We've kind of had a moment there after the Varina game where we look coaching wise, we kind of decided like we're what's most important. Let's figure out what we can do best and let's figure out how we can get the best out of our group. And then, if we get our group playing at a high level, I like our chances. I think we're pretty good. We're a pretty talented football team. So that's been the kind of the tone of the week is big thing about do your job. And again, with all district opponents, there's a lot of jawing that goes on, whether it's social media or whether it's at the game. And this is the one thing I was really proud of our group. We didn't get caught up in that at Potomac. And in years past, we have. And it's been on us. We ran our own mouths. And this time it was about the football. And we kept the main thing. So I think it's been good. And I think we're just kind of carrying that message from week to week now with the district opponents is let's focus on what we do and how well we do things. And, we're not going to ignore what they do. Like I said, I told you, with Freedom, they're multiple in their formations, even their special teams. They like to run, spread punt. And then at the same time, they'll run reverses on kickoffs. They've got a couple things. They've done a couple onsides. So you got to prep for it. Nothing should be surprising, but I think you also, after that, we got to take care of what we do.
Okay, that sounds good. That really does. So let me ask. I know they had their low in numbers. Did they fill the JV team and your JV team play them?
No, our JV team went to Battlefield on Monday and got some good work there. And they did not play us in JV. I know they played a couple like during the out of district schedule when they weren't playing games. They did. I think they played Patriots JV, and I want to say they played Garfield's, and they kind of had a hybrid JV / varsity. So that was my thought. They scrimmaged Louisa, and then they didn't play for 5 weeks. And I was like, wow, that's tough to keep kids interested there too. But I guess they played a couple of the kind of scrimmage games. So I was like, oh, that's smart. And he's doing what he can over there, and it's good that Freedom's still playing football. We need him to.
Yep, yeah. And it may take a while, but they'll get that thing rolling over there. You got a new coach. You got to figure out. Yeah, right. You actually started that program. All right. So look, I appreciate you taking this time, Coach. Good luck this week. Against Freedom. Again, I'm always praying for no injuries or no serious injuries. Any last thoughts you'd like to put out there for the Forest Park fans or parents?
No, home game, come on out. We've been on the road for a couple of weeks, and then we're also back on the road after this week. So come out and support us, support the kids. It's great when we have good crowds out there, and we'll see if we can't put something together that you can cheer for. And it's Just looking forward to Friday, and you hang in there too. It's almost over.
Yeah, I know. Looking forward because I want to see Freedom and of course support you all out there. All right, so for Coach Robinette, this is Rusty Byrd in the Forest Park High School football show. Let him have it, Coach.
Go Bruins!
Go Bruins! All right, we're out.
Okay, have a good day.